Assalamu alaikum. I am Anika from Rehan School of our campus. Today we will talk call earning at the topic how to boost your productivity with simple tricks. Hi,
Hey there.
what does productivity mean in everyday life?
I think most people get it wrong and treat it like a race to see who can check off the most boxes. To me, it's more about the alignment, making sure the things you're actually doing match the things you actually care about. Is the difference between being busy and being effective? Does that feel accurate to you, or do you see it differently?
Why is productivity important for personal and professional success?
In a professional sense, it's usually the thing that keeps you from burning out. When you can actually manage your output, you stop feeling like you're just drowning in a to do list, which gives you the space to actually do the work that gets noticed. Personally, it's about buying back your time. The more effective you are with the hours you're working, the more time you have for the things that don't have a deadline, like hobbies or just staring at a wall for an hour. I'm curious, do you feel like you're currently getting that balance, or is the work side winning?
What are the biggest costs of low productivity?
The most immediate cost is usually mental energy. You end up spending more time worrying about the work you aren't doing than actually doing it, which is a special kind of exhaustion. Then there's the cost of missed opportunities, the projects you never start, or the goals you push back because you're too bogged down in the small stuff. But honestly, the biggest cost is the guilt, that feeling that you're failing, even when you've been busy all day. Do you think that guilt is the hardest part, or is it more about the actual lost time?
What is the best way to prioritize tasks effectively?
I'm a big fan of keeping it simple because any system that's too complex usually just becomes another task on the list. For me, it's all about identifying the non negotiables, the two or three things that, if you get them done, make the day a win, regardless of everything else. Once those are handled, everything else is just a bonus. Do you usually try to tackle everything at once, or do you have a way of filtering what actually matters?
How does time blocking help people stay focused?
Essentially gives your brain permission to stop worrying about everything else. When you designate a specific window for one task, you're not just scheduling the work, you're shutting out the noise of the other 20 things you could be doing. It turns a vague, I need to do this today, into a concrete appointment with yourself. I've heard it's a total game changer for people who struggle with that feeling of being pulled in 10 different directions. Have you ever tried carving out your day like that, or does it feel a bit too rigid for you?
Okay. Why is avoiding multitasking important for productivity?
Because multitasking is basically just a polite word for switching your attention back and forth really quickly. Every time you jump from one thing to another, there's this attention residue where your brain is still partially stuck on the last task. You aren't actually doing two things at once, you're just doing two things poorly and taking longer to finish both. It's like trying to run two different movies on one screen. You're gonna miss half the plot in both. Does that make sense? Or do you feel like you're one of the few people who can actually pull it off?
Okay. How can setting clear goals increase efficiency?
It's basically about creating a psychological boundary. When you have a hard stop, like deciding that work ends at 6 p.m. or that your phone goes in a drawer during deep work, you stop the bleed. Without those walls, work tends to expand to fill every available second of your life, and your brain never actually resets. And it's the difference between a leaky faucet and a faucet that actually turns off. Do you find it hard to set those boundaries, or are you more of a work until it's done type?
Nice. What role
Good
does
night.
a morning routine play in productivity?
Wait, you're not leaving yet? I think a morning routine is mostly about momentum. It's not about waking up at 4 a.m. and doing a 3 hour meditation session. That's just more work. It's more about having a few small, predictable wins that signal to your brain that it's time to move from sleep mode into action mode. And you start the day with a clear sequence. You save all that mental energy you'd otherwise spend just deciding how to start. Do you have a go to start to your day, or is it more of a chaotic scramble?
Nice. How can taking regular breaks improve work performance?
It's all about preventing that mental fog. Your brain isn't a machine that can just run it 100% for 8 hours straight. It's more like a muscle that needs to recover. When you step away, even for just 5 minutes, you're letting your subconscious process the problem you're stuck on. Usually, that's when the aha moment actually happens, not while you're staring intensely at the screen. I've heard that pushing through the fatigue actually leads to more mistakes, which just means you spend more time fixing them later. Do you find it hard to actually step away when you're in the middle of something, or can you force yourself to take a breather?
Yeah. How does organizing your
It's a tough
workspace boost productivity?
It's a tough habit, but as for the workspace, I think it's mostly about reducing friction. If you have to spend 10 minutes looking for a charger or a specific notebook, you're using up your focus before you've even started the actual task. A clear space usually leads to a clear head, and it's just easier to dive into deep work when you aren't surrounded by visual reminders of all the other things you still need to do. Do you keep a pristine desk, or is your setup more of a organized chaos situation?
Nice. Why is getting enough
Glad
sleep
you agree.
essential for being productive?
Sleep is basically the brain's nightly reset button. When you're sleep deprived, your cognitive functions just tank, your focus slips, your decision making gets sloppy, and your patience disappears. It's like trying to run a high end app on a battery that's at 2%, everything just lags. Getting enough sleep isn't a luxury, it's the fuel that allows you to actually use all those productivity techniques we've been talking about. Do you usually feel like you're running on full power, or are you a bit of a night owl who's paying for it the next morning?
How can technology and productivity apps help manage time better?
They can be a double edged sword. If they're just a way to organize the chaos, like a simple calendar or a checklist, they're great. But if you spend more time tweaking the app settings and color coding your tags than actually doing the work, you've just found a fancy new way to procrastinate. The best tools are the ones that disappear into the background and just let you work. You prefer a simple digital setup, or you like the tools that have a million different features?
How can technology and what are the some quick tricks to stay motivated throughout the day?
Honestly, the biggest trick is to stop relying on motivation entirely. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are fickle. I found it's way more effective to rely on a tiny bit of discipline and a very easy starting point. Like, tell yourself you'll only work on something for 5 minutes. Usually, once the friction of starting is gone, the momentum carries you through. Another thing is to celebrate the small wins. Literally, checking a box off a list can give you that little hit of dopamine that keeps you going. Do you find that you lose steam halfway through the day, or is it mostly just getting started that's the struggle?
How can limiting distraction improve concentration?
I'm assuming you meant distractions, right? It's basically about protecting your focus. Your attention is a finite resource, and every time a notification pings or someone pops their head into your office, you're paying a switching cost to get back into the flow. Limiting those interruptions isn't just about being disciplined, it's about creating a sanctuary where your brain can actually dive deep into the work without having to constantly fight for its own attention. Do you usually keep your notifications on, or are you a do not disturb kind of person?
Which simple productivity tricks provides the biggest results with the least effort?
If you want the most bang for your buck, I'd say it's the 2 minute rule. If it takes less than 2 minutes to do, like answering a quick email or putting away your dishes, just do it immediately. It stops 100 tiny things from piling up into a mountain of stress that feels overwhelming later. Then I'd add the rule of three, which is just picking three non negotiable goals for the day. It keeps you focused on what actually moves the needle instead of getting lost in the weeds. Do you feel like those tiny tasks usually pile up on you, or are you better at clearing them out as you go?
Okay, thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.
You're very welcome. Allah Hafiz.